they don't walk around like men, and people want to call that toxic masculinity and stuff, but
Yeah, the mob is dead. Like I said, our thing, like the Italians, it's dead. There's no more real bad guys left. I'll be honest with you.
Well, welcome to another episode of Thomas Berryman TV. Today's guest, we have Scott Stuch, formerly of Sober Sit Downs, the creator. Now he's got his new show, Stepping Up with Stuch. Welcome to the show, mate.
It's an honor to be on here. Thank you for having me.
Could you tell us why the change of name for your show and how that came about?
Trying to generalize my audience a little bit more. I think a lot of people get deteriorated when they see the word sober in front of it, and it's missing the whole message of the whole platform of inspiration towards change and to try and motivate people to live a better life. It doesn't all have to be like a lot of my guests, like, some of my guests, they like brought a drink on the show, or it wasn't like exclusively about addiction. And I think because of the name, it kind of got misled of what the show is all about. So I thought maybe just, recapping the show, like reformulating the show, making it more of a motivational, generalized audience, because I'm going to have different types of guests on. I'm going to have people that, were in addiction. I'm going to have people that, started businesses from nothing and made themselves into something, athletes, just regular everyday people that just want to talk about, either like lifting weights or doing something that's positive in your life, that's a positive change. And I feel like when people see sober in front of the name, they get like, they're like, oh, I don't have an addiction problem, so I don't want to watch that. So I just felt as though, like, people, like I said, I had a couple of guests that brought, like, they were sitting at home just relaxing. They didn't have a problem with drinking. So, like, who am I to judge them if they want to bring a drink on and watch a show? But I guess I can see it from the viewers' audience that it was kind of hypocritical a little bit.
I like both names, by the way, but yeah, the new one is cool. I like it. Stepping Up with Stuch, man. That's cool.
Yeah, and I gotta make sure I let everybody know, because this was brought up on another podcast. I did not relapse. I'm going to be 4 years sober in May. That's not why the change of the name is. So I want to make that clear to all the audiences.
Yeah, for sure. I did see a post with you explaining it, but I thought I'd let you tell everyone on here as well. And I'll just take it back a little bit. Whereabouts are you from? Like, where'd you grow up? And then what led you into, starting your own show?
I grew up in a town called Pittston. It's like 2 hours north of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's a very, very small town, hardworking. They actually mention it in the movie The Irishman. I don't know if you've ever seen it before.
Yeah.
In the beginning, when De Niro says, "I'm going to go pick up Russell in Pittston," that's the town I'm from. It's very small. There's different cultures of people. Italian, Polish, Lithuanian, Irish, all different types of people. They migrated here. We're about 2 hours west of New York City, so we're like in between New York and Philly, kind of. And it's just it's like a middle class, hardworking town. There was a lot of coal mines here back in the day, dress factories, and it's like a town, like a city within a town.
What's the population like there? Is it pretty small? Or?
It's starting to expand. Like it was like a hometown, like a hometown feel. Now we're starting to get a lot of influx of like New York City and Philadelphia, because it's cheaper to live around here. So they commercialized it. A lot of mom and pop shops, aren't in existence as they used to be. They have, more chain restaurants, like, your TGI Fridays and places like that popping up, like Walmart, Target, all the major commercialized stuff. And there's not like, back in the day, it used to be all like mom and pop stuff. And we have like a mall and stuff like that. But now it's like really commercialized.
Yeah, I feel like that's happening all over the world. Like a lot of the mom and pop stuff's like just disappearing.
We have two like semi-pro sports teams here. One's the minor leagues for the Yankees, the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Rail Riders, and we have the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins, which is the Pittsburgh Penguins minor league team. That's in our home area.
That's pretty cool. Do you go to the games?
Not as much as I used to. I used to play hockey when I was growing up. I was a big hockey player. I actually wanted to play semi-pro hockey, and then, I got involved in other things and just kind of let my dream just go away. I stopped playing hockey. I broke my leg and started getting involved with going down the gym, going to nightclubs and going out and stuff like that. And I kind of let my dream just fade away.
And what led you into like first starting your own show on here?
So in the beginning of my sobriety days, that's when like COVID kind of started taking place, and a lot of the meetings went to like Zoom style and stuff like that. And I was a CDL truck driver my first year of sobriety, and even if there was meetings going on, I really couldn't attend them, and I really wasn't an AA advocate to begin with. I, networked with some people that gave me some positive advice. I don't disagree with the program, but I do what works for me. And, I'm going on 4 years. So, I mean, I'm not being egotistical when I say it, but, you got to do at the end what works for you. And if you want to be sober, you'll be sober. And I used a lot of my networking because I was driving tractor trailers up and down the East Coast. So I would call people that were somewhat in the program and talk to them, network if I was going through problems. And then I started watching to kill some time, because sometimes like I'd start in Virginia and I'd have to drive to like Maine. It's like like a 12, 13 hour trip. I'd start putting YouTube, like motivational podcasts like Gary V, Patrick Bet David, and Vlad TV, some of the bigger guys. And what really was a true influence to me was like I started listening to Johnny Alight, and he was one of the originators of the Mob podcast. Him and Gene, and then he brought on Gene Barillo, and they kind of motivated me, because I don't know, like some people don't really like the mob stuff, but I don't know, I'm really inspired by it, not from the violence end of it, but how they conducted themselves as gentlemen, how they conduct themselves from a business standpoint, strong negotiation skills, even if it was strong arming people. I mean, these guys were sharp.
Yeah, definitely. I think even if they took the legitimate way, that these guys would have been successful as well. They have that knack for it.
Well, if these guys had PhDs in like business or MBAs, like, masters in business or something, these guys could have been CEOs on pretty much any company they wanted to be with the skill set that they have.
Yeah, definitely. I seen your interview with Larry Mazza as well. That was pretty cool. He's a great guest. I've talked to him before.
Yeah, Larry's a personal friend of mine. We still keep in contact to this day. We did a little spin-off segment there for a while called The Life 101. And we were doing a couple episodes. We had Sarah DiPaggio on from Mob King. We had a guy named Sal Franciosa on, who's a personal friend of mine. He's an actor and director in some movies. We did a commission style meeting where we got me, Larry, Hootie Russo, Anthony Arlotta, and I'm drawing a blank here. Tori Bonanno, who's Joe Bonanno's grandson. We kind of just got everybody together and seen from the different sides of the New York crime family how they would answer questions, like just basic questions like, what was your favorite mob movie? What was, who was the most smartest mobster you ever sat down with? Stuff like that. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. They all have similar answers.
Yes and no.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard. That's a hard question to answer. But I mean, if you guys go on my page, which my link will be below, if you just go on the Life 101, it's like the third episode. It's the commission style meeting.
That's awesome. That's pretty cool that you were able to put that together, man.
Yeah, it was something I thought about for a while, and I wanted to get all 5 families from one person from each family, but I couldn't find nobody from the Lucchese's that was willing to participate in it. So I had, one of other each ones,
Yeah, that's awesome. Was that hard to put together?
Not really, because, like Tori was going to do a one-on-one with me, and then I was already involved with Larry, and me and Anthony Hootie Russo are close friends. I actually went out to New York and spent the day with him back in November. We're going to be releasing all that content pretty soon, and we talk, regularly on the phone, probably once or twice a week. And Anthony Arlotta, same thing. Like, me and him are, we text each other back and forth all the time, and I still talk to him on the phone every once in a while. But all these guys, they're all willing to help. You know what I mean? Everybody looks at their past, but if you're a good person and you're willing to accept them for who they are, and don't judge people because people made mistakes in the past, and that's like the gist of the Sober Sit Down, is turning a negative into a positive. And that's why a lot of people couldn't understand why I brought a lot of these mobsters on. A lot of these guys moved on with their lives after jail and did positive things with their life. Like Larry was in the movie The Irishman. He actually helped Robert De Niro with his role in the movie The Irishman, and he was actually in a small part of the movie. Now he's got a very successful gym down in Florida, and he, implies his martial arts that he learned when he was younger, and it just helps people get back in shape and stuff like that. And the rest of the guys, like, they do what they do. I mean, for the most part, most of them keep their noses clean, and you got to respect them for that.
Yeah, definitely. Because it would have been pretty hard for him to transition as well, getting out of prison and then starting fresh in a positive way as well.
Well, like as the movies portray, like they a lot of them when they interview, like they say, if you say you don't miss the life, you're lying. I mean, who doesn't, who wouldn't want to like, people,
Yeah.
whether they were respected or feared, walking down the street, they held some sort of clout and credibility. They
Yeah.
walk around in suits, got brand new cars, pretty much, have pockets full of money. Any women they want, they can probably have within hands reach in the neighborhood. So I mean, like, it's kind of like the all American dream for most guys, but they didn't go back to that life. They figured out ways to make negatives and turn them into positives.
Yeah, definitely. What's been your favorite part so far of the journey with putting together your platform?
It was cool to sit down. Johnny A came to my studio. He drove like 2.5 hours from New York, and he came to my studio. That was pretty cool
Wow.
accomplishment. As I said, he kind of was a big inspiration to why I started podcasting in the first place, listening to a lot of his content on driving truck. And then here I am sitting with him, 2 years
Yeah.
later, and he's sitting in my studio. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Is there anyone who you haven't had on yet that you really want to get on your show?
There's a couple like famous athletes that went through addiction and stuff like that rebounded.
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a good question for me to actually think about. But
What's your top three favorite movies of all time?
I want to say Goodfellas, Casino, and The Departed.
Departed's a great movie.
Yeah, it's very. I think it's somewhat underrated. They don't really put it in there with those other ones, but I mean, anything Martin Scorsese is pretty good.
Yeah. Have you seen the original trilogy? The I guess the Asian version of The Departed.
No,
So you pretty much got that off. It's called Infernal Affairs. There's three movies. And yeah, absolutely brilliant. You got to check that out. I think it's set in Hong Kong.
is it
Yeah.
on Netflix or anything?
It could be now. I have seen it a while ago. I'm not sure if it's still on there, but it's all in subtitles. And yeah, this I think the first movie is pretty much exactly The Departed, with a few characters change, and then they do like a prequel, and then they do a sequel, and it's yeah, amazing. But yeah, if you love The Departed, you'll like this movie.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send
To go
links
back
to.
to go back to like why I'm switching the platform up a little bit. It gives me a little bit more opportunity to be myself. And I think I fell off. I started falling off a little bit, um, listening to too many other people's input. And the gist of this whole platform that really pushed me forward was my brother is my executive producer, and he always told me like, you should do a podcast. You're funny, you're motivating, you're this that, and I just feel as though that like I fell into a little bit of a funk towards the end with the sober sit down where I was kind of just going through the motions and listening. I was making it too much about what I would think people would want me to do rather than being myself and be the person I am off camera. And not that I was faking anything. It was just I was being like a little bit too, I don't want to say too humble. I want to say like I was being a little bit too empathetic towards, you know, certain aspects of like, addiction stories and stuff like that, like feeling sorry for yourself. And, I'm more of a personal motivator and I like challenges and stuff. And I want to like build that same energy with other people that are going through the motions of life and want to make a better life for themselves. I'd rather be a motivator and push them to that higher standard, like I was pushed to have to do for myself and create the person I am today, 4 years later.
Yeah, that's incredible. And now you obviously with the rebrand, do you feel like you've got that fire back to keep it pushing?
I think so. I mean, we're not going to release anything till May, because my brother, like I said, is my executive producer and he's going through some personal issues right now.
Yeah.
So we're trying to launch everything off on May. Three I have 3 episodes I'm actually filming tomorrow at the studio. 2 of them are going to be Zoom like this, and then the other one is going to be actually sit-in. I got them spread out throughout the day. That's why I'm glad me and you did this today, because if not, I would have been doing 4, which is
Wow.
utterly insane on my day off.
Yeah.
But I have Gunnar Lindblom or Lingram's coming back on.
Yeah.
You just had Gunnar on your show, didn't you?
Yeah, I just released his this morning about 4 hours ago.
Yeah, Gunner's a friend of mine. He's going to come on. We're going to talk about streets of Detroit, and I want to like veer off of like any of the mob content or anything like that people have discrepancies about. I
Yeah.
want to talk about like Gunner, how I know Gunner, like about he loves to fish, he likes to weight lift, he likes to do a lot of positive stuff. Whatever he went to prison for, is his business. And I want to talk more about like what his personal hobbies are now that keeps him motivated to staying out of trouble and keeping his nose clean for the future. That's what we're going to talk about on stepping up, because he stepped up and he's doing things that he should be doing rather than what he shouldn't. And people shouldn't disrespect him for that. I like Gunner a lot, and he's always been out, to like he went out of his way to help me. When I was in the podcast, he came on. He wants to help me with my new thing. So I have nothing but respect for him. I have my friend Tom coming on, who grew up a real skinny kid. I'm not positive on this, but I think he dealt with some bullying issues early on, and now the guy's like he's like the size of a professional football player. He's a power lifter. He's a truck driver by trade. He saved up a lot of his money over the years, and now he opened up his own supplement store where he actually sits down with people client to client basis, and he sells like weightlifting supplements, kind of like GNC or like one of those bigger stores. And it's inside the gym that we work out in, and he'll actually sit down and talk to the people about their goals, what they're trying to do, get them the right products rather than just selling them stuff they don't need. He actually sits down with his clients and puts a lot of effort into what he sells and making sure it's going to meet their goals. So we have a good show. He saved up all his money truck driving and was able to fulfill his dream and raise a family to open up his own supplement shop. So that's going to be a good one. And then me and Anthony Hootie Russo, who I said is like a friend of mine, we're going to be doing a segment where we're going to be talking about growing up in Brooklyn in the 80s with there was like a drug epidemic going on, and like the mob was at its peak. But we're not going to get too much into the mob talk. We're going to talk about me and his walk and talk back in November, and that's where I'm going to actually implement, when we do the editing, we're going to be implementing the clips, like when we were in Little Italy together. We were in front of John Gotti Social Club, all different areas in New York City. So that's going to be a good one to watch as well.
Yeah, that'll be awesome, man. You got some cool stuff lined up. I can't wait. That's pretty.
Yeah,
cool.
I've been mapping it out. I did my last podcast in February, and all I've been doing is planning while I have downtime.
Yeah. When you were walking around Little Italy and stuff, did you still see some like old mob guys sort of hanging around, or is that all finished now?
I think it's deteriorated. I mean, I'd love to answer that question accurately, but I mean, I really can't answer that question accurately from what I've seen. So, we'll let the segment, whatever
Okay.
Anthony wants to talk about.
Yeah. No, that's cool.
You can paint the picture.
Yeah, definitely. Do you read many books?
I listened to a lot of audiobooks when I was like in the truck and stuff like that, but really like reading, I don't know. I never really was a big reader.
Yeah. What would be is there any top audiobooks that stood out to you and that really stuck with you?
Probably The Quiet Dawn, which is because it's based off of a local, in where I'm from here, the Joe Pesci character that they had in The Irishman, Russell Buffalino. He's been passed away now since the 90s, but there was a book written about him, and a lot of it had to do with our area where I'm from. So that was pretty interesting to read. I read most of that actually when I used to work. I used to work somewhere there was a lot of downtime, and I did read that book when I was there. I did a lot of overnight shifts and stuff, and I actually read that book, and that was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
It's called The Quiet Dawn.
The Quiet Dawn. I'll have to check it out. He played a great character in that movie.
Yeah, he did a really good job. Joe Pesci, he's one of the best actors, I think,
Yeah. Yeah, all time. He's amazing. What about what sort of music do you listen to? What's your top three artists or bands?
I like, it all depends on my mood. Like I can sit here and listen to Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin, but then I can leave here and go to the gym and listen to Tiesto and listen to house music.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't mind, some old hip hop. I don't mind, I like house music. I like classical music, even sometimes, old 80s rock music. I'm not really picky when it comes to music. It all depends on my mood.
Yeah, I
How
feel
about
the
you?
same. I feel exactly the same way. I can listen to anything, like Frank Sinatra through to Tupac. Like I can go through all of it. AC/DC, like Pink Floyd. Yeah,
One of my
depends
best
how I'm
friends
feeling.
actually, one of my best friends actually was just in Florida, and he's actually networking with a guy with a project, and the guy was actually he came up with the concept for the California Love video for Tupac.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
Anyway,
walking by, like, you wouldn't even like. He just was walking by, and he was introduced to him by somebody else, and like, some guy, like, you see him in like Walmart or something, you just walk right past him, you don't even know what he is,
yeah,
and here he came up with the concept for the California Love video.
wow. You never know like who you're gonna meet. That's a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to someone who wants to, I guess, not necessarily start a podcast, but just get into anything that they enjoy or that they really want to do?
Don't be afraid to take risks. The biggest thing that I learned in my past was a lot of stuff that I was influenced by the wrong people when I was younger. A lot of people around here, if you come up with like a good idea or something, they they would tell you not to do it just because they were afraid you were going to get ahead of them. And my biggest goal is, if I'm blessed by God to grow into my older years, 70, 80, 90 years old, I don't want to be sitting in that rocking chair living with any regrets. I watched my grandfather at like 89, 90 years old. He sat in his rocking chair, and, he was retired since he was 60, and he just sat in his rocking chair every day. And he was like telling me, like, don't be afraid to take chances in life. Like, if you want to do something, go out and take a risk. I sat around and just worked at 9 to 5 every day, just enough to provide for my family, and didn't do much after that. And lived a very basic life. And he said, don't die with regrets. So it's pretty much like, if you want to do something, just go out and do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah, that's true.
At least you don't have to live with that regret later on in life and saying that, well, what if I did that? What if I did this?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why I started doing this as well. Like I was having those thoughts, like, what have I got to lose? That's going to do it.
Well, the big thing is I learned also in sobriety was validation. Like, there's a lot of people that would probably, they watch my show and they probably criticize me, and you know what? I don't pay attention to negativity anymore. Like, I can care less. Like, my biggest thing is, like, someone else's opinion about me is none of my business. I really don't. You can't please the world. You can't make everybody happy. Like, there's people that criticize LeBron James and Michael Jordan. I mean,
Yeah,
they're the best basketball players of all time, pretty much through statistics. But people still will say, he sucks. Like, you got to realize who's saying that, and like, obviously, if people are going out of their way and they're actually listening to you, and they're leaving like negative remarks on your YouTube, or people are talking about you behind your back, like local people that watch my show, if they are saying stuff behind my back and stuff like about my show, I mean, they just got to check themselves at night when they're looking up at the ceiling, when they're laying in bed, and say, how miserable is my life that I'm criticizing somebody else's.
wow. Yeah, that's good. I didn't think about that. Yeah, like every now and then, yeah, you get someone who's doing that sort of business on your page. Like I get it too. I've had some where I've had like 5 parts, and they've watched them all, waited to the last part, and then just got negative or picky about something in the first part. And it's like, you watch 5 parts, and this is your feedback.
You
And
just, you know what? I just respond with, I appreciate your input. Thanks for watching.
yeah,
Because they just watched your show. I mean, they just
yeah,
wasted how much of their time to
yeah,
watch you,
yeah,
even if they didn't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do it to please others. I do it because I have fun doing it, and I
yeah.
like networking with the people I network with. And it made me a lot of good contacts in the past 9.5, 10 months.
Yeah. What do you see this year bringing you? Like, what's your goals for, I guess, 2023, early 2024?
In regards to the podcast, or just in general?
Yeah, in general and the podcast, like, what's your plans?
Just try to continue to try to stay positive. Even when things aren't going the way I want them to, just try and stay positive. Don't bring a negative morale around my family or my friends. Continue to try and be outgoing towards others, not be afraid to help others instead of helping myself and be selfish sometimes. Um, with the podcast, I'd like for people to be influenced by it. I'd like to continue to try and grow an audience and, just I do it for fun. I don't do it to monetize or anything like that because I work a normal job. I'm a car salesman at a Lincoln and Ford dealership, and just continue to try and be the best at what I can be, and just put maximum effort in every day when I wake up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've seen you. It's like looks like you're always working on your. You're always pushing something, or you always look busy.
I mean, I do believe that my addiction came from my mental health, and I struggle with anxiety and depression over the years, and it's all about. I was actually talking to, I was at my doctor's office today, and he was telling me how he's struggling with anxiety issues, and I told him, you just got to know, you got to learn how to channel it. When I used to get anxiety and depression, I would go and use alcohol as my substance to block that void, but you got to use that negative energy and turn it into positive energy. Like when we get off the podcast, I'm going to get changed and go to the gym. I work 8 in the morning till 8 at night. I'm on the podcast with you now, and now I'm going to probably, go to the gym after we get off of here. And you just got to keep moving until you can't move no more. Do whatever you can to stay positive and stay motivated. And all that anxiety, I just use it as energy now, and I just try and stay busy and stay motivated. And then by the time I'm ready for the night, I don't have time to sit there and cater to racing thoughts or worry about stuff at night. I'm so burnt out that I just go to bed.
Wow, that's a good outlook right there, man. That's keeping busy. Yeah, I'll get
And
it.
depression, and as far as depression goes, depression, you can only let depression get a hold of you if you allow it to. If you don't have any goals set for yourself, I like to, have a short-term goals and long-term goals. Like short-term goals, like what do I want to do by the end of the week? Long-term goals, what do I want to do by the end of the month or the end of the year? Always give yourself something to look forward to, but keep your goals within reach and within reason. And you got to be patient. You got to be willing to make sacrifices.
Yeah, definitely. Man, that's cool. And what advice would you give to someone, I guess, who wants to get sober, or is having an addiction problem, or they're struggling with something? Like they haven't talked to anyone they're at that point.
I would just say, like, take a full evaluation of where you're at in your life. Are you happy with where you're at in life? Is whatever you're doing causing negative outcomes in your life? Is it affecting your life with your loved ones or your friends or your family? Is it holding you back from your job, or you're not doing a good job at like where you're at, or are you unhappy with where you're at? And if it's holding you back from becoming the better version of you, then you might want to reconsider and seek out and get some help for yourself, because it's no way to live. It's just an anchor, and it's just going to keep holding you back and keep holding you back, and it's going to take longer for you to reach positive progression.
Man, nice answer. And also, what's your top 3 favorite TV shows of all time?
Well, of course, The Sopranos is number one.
Yeah.
Boardwalk Empire is definitely up there. I've been watching a lot of Shark Tank lately. You ever see Shark Tank?
Yeah, and they get the people in with their business ideas and stuff.
Yeah,
That's pretty cool. I like that.
yeah. I'm a big Mark Cuban fan. I like Mark Cuban's from Pennsylvania. He's from out near the Pittsburgh area, and I'm definitely a Mark Cuban fan. So I do like watching Shark Tank every once in a while.
Yeah, you need to get him on your show, man. That'd be awesome.
It might cost a lot.
Yeah. Do you train every day, and like are you always planning every day? What's a normal day for you?
I try to go to the gym like 5 days a week if I can. I try, like, if I see like no progression, I try and like tweak what I'm doing. So I'm starting. I just set up my boxing gym in my garage. I moved it up from my basement because I don't really go down there often. I'm going to start boxing now that the weather's getting warm here. I can just open up the garage and go out and box. I used to do that when I was younger. I played hockey and I was into boxing, just try and get into some better shape for the summertime, and just continue to try and grow as a salesman at my job and be the best salesman I can be, and be the best family man I can be, and be there for people that are needing help.
Yeah, that's great. And lastly, what do you enjoy doing when you have got some time where you're not working, you're not like so busy? Do you get any downtime?
Minimally, but sometimes I don't know, just watch some TV, or really my downtime is very minimal. And like I said, by the time I get home and take a shower and I'm just going. I usually just go to sleep. But every once in a while, like I'll play NHL on like PS5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's like once in a great while, because I don't have time to go play anymore. So, and I can't risk getting injured with having to go to work and stuff like that. And it's a high intensity sport, so that's like what I have left of playing hockey. I go on PS5 every once in a while. Well, I appreciate coming on tonight. Thanks for the opportunity.
No, thanks for coming on. It's been great talking to you, and yeah, we'll keep in touch. It's great to finally meet you.
Yeah, it's nice watching you grow. We talked when you were first coming up, and I hope the advice I gave you was pretty positive, and it's nice to watch you grow into having good guests on, and I like watching people do good for themselves.
Man, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And yeah, by the way, I love your intro to your show as well that you had set up.
Thank you.
That's cool. Thanks for coming on, and I'll talk to you.
Sounds good, brother. Thank you.